In '92, I got involved with the Leather SM Roundup, which was at that time a group that were all people who were clean and sober who were into the leather community. And this was beginning of my time of really coming into the out leather community. And once I got involved, I found out that all of the events that we went to after hours, so to speak, were all AIDS-related kind of charities. It was the beginning end of that, but they were charities for some, raising money for the Godfather Fund, which is now, long gone, and the AIDS Emergency Fund, which was started by Leathermen, whom many I got to know eventually. Those things happened before my time. They began before my time, but then eventually I was involved because I wanted to run for titles, and in the title community, you're only as good as your worth as a fundraiser. And basically, at that time, there were so many titles, contests, and people trying to put on an even greater fundraiser in a bar or at event location to try and raise funds for one of these organizations. And that just became our thing to champion. I mean, it was necessary because at that time, people were just really reeling from how many close friends were just leaving so fast, so fast. I mean, like in the people of color community said, people died so fast it made your head swim. It did. AIDS hit the leather community in the 80s in a way that you can't even begin to imagine, because there were so many leathermen who were very free sexually and who were involved in the bathhouses and who were just playing at a level that regular gays did not play at. And so the opportunity to have infection was greater because of that. And so ultimately, in the beginning, not knowing how contagious the disease was, people were playing at a level that basically put some of them in jeopardy, more so than they would have if they had known how serious it was from the beginning. The leather community responded to AIDS in the early days by realizing what the immediate needs were of their close friends. When you're talking to somebody who hasn't eaten all week because they were too weak from, vomiting, and they couldn't shop, and they couldn't go up and down their steps. So there was an immediate kind of response that we had, and that's why some of those agencies like the AIDS Emergency Fund came together, because people who could not work could not pay their rent. And if you went to work and said you're sick, and it was, and they kind of knew you were gay, and it seemed to have those kind of symptoms, straight people were very, very punitive, and people lost their jobs just because they were sick and people knew they were gay. And you didn't have the strength to fight the case, and you're trying to fight for your life. So we were just trying to address the immediacy of the needs. In my own, personal life, I worked in kitchen dietaries initially for a few years, and I worked at Davies Medical Center, which, was hit hard because it was right in the center of the Castro. And I remember taking trays up to patients who, some of my coworkers who, maybe they did or did not know that I was gay, because when you're a femme, you kind of pass sometimes, whether you're trying to or not. I don't want to go in his room. I just leave the tray here, and I was aghast at that. And I did things that, there was concern from some friends and whatnot. Oh, we still don't know what it's all about. We don't know how serious it's going to be. Maybe, people shouldn't do this and do that. And already there were leather people who were going to someone's home, helping them to bathe, helping them to get dressed, changing their bedclothes. We were already doing things that people in the general public were freaking out about, not even coming close to. That they didn't want to take someone's food to their room was just ridiculous, ridiculous. So it was very, very intense, and as a title holder, I had the platform to be political when I never expected to be. I think that AIDS affected the leather community by simply making us wake up and smell the coffee. It's not just all about fun. You've got to actually deal with the realities of life at times. And the reality was we had a disease. We could disagree on how it began. We could disagree on the way to combat it, but we all had to wake up and be a part of it somewhere along the line because it would affect you, simply because you knew someone. I doubt if there was anybody that came up in that time period that didn't know more than several someones who got sick and passed away. And that was that. And you couldn't accept that their life was going to be over, that we were going to forget about them, that we weren't going to be aware of the fact that this is happening now. It could happen again. So it woke us up in a way that forced us to be, many of us, to be way more political and way more radical than maybe we ever anticipated. Without the leather community, I believe that real strong fight urge would have taken a lot longer to happen in the general gay community. You know, we have our various disagreements in the gay community about the way to access the power in the political sense. And initially, we were absolutely, in the leather community, adamant about being aggressive about things because we just felt we didn't have time, because our friends didn't have time. You know, when you don't have time to play around, you have a lot less patience and you're not as hesitant to, try to put a pretty face on what you're trying to accomplish with people who probably are not interested in your cause whatsoever anyway. So we were more in your face. I remember the March on Washington in 1993. I went with the leather contingent. It was a huge contingent, and it was amazing because we were positioned at a certain point, and there were so many of the typical gays and the A gays who were trying to subjugate us and push us back and not let us start out. And eventually we got pissed off. And it was a huge group with a lot of people who have been very active over the years. I was really proud to be a part of it. We just said, oh no, we are marching. We are here. You will accept and deal with us. It is our right to be a part of this parade. We are going, we are coming, we came in force. It was a huge conglomerate of title holders, but we all represented so much fundraising, so much groundwork in our various cities and towns that there was no way we were going to stand around and wait and be the last in the parade. And that was really a very amazing moment. As a leather woman, AIDS has taught me that women have an amazing amount of power and strength. Women have had serious, strong, supportive roles. They jumped in there when some men were afraid to come. We just looked up and said, well, somebody's got to go do it. And leather women jumped into that. We jumped into the mix, and we took care of people whom we weren't having sex with. There was nothing in it for us except we were human beings, and these are human beings, and they need help. And we answered that call. And I'm proud to be a leather woman because of that. I wish the people that I love did not have to die for me to be able to sit here today and talk about this. I wish they were still here with me, laughing and sharing things and telling me, how to be.